The old house stood bathed in the silver light of the full moon. Every window seemed to stare back, unseeing, like the eyes of some great beast. It had been empty for years, a place where children dared not play and adults avoided speaking of. They said it was haunted, that the place was cursed. They were wrong, or so I thought. I moved into the house after inheriting it from a distant relative. It had come as a shock, the house and the news of my relative's death. I knew almost nothing about him, only that his name was Edgar, and that he lived a solitary life here at the end of Whisperwind Lane. Now I was here, unpacking boxes, settling in, trying to make this rambling old house a home. It wasn't easy. For one thing, the local townsfolk made it clear they disapproved. I found notes under my door warning me to leave, to get out while I still could, but I was not one to be intimidated. And besides, where else would I go? So I stayed. And then the strange things started to happen. At first it was just the feeling of being watched, a cold spot here, a floorboard that creaked just out of the corner of my hearing. Then objects began to move on their own, a book left open on the table, a vase knocked off a shelf. And then the whispers started, soft murmurs that seemed to come from the walls themselves. I couldn't make out the words, but it was clear they were speaking of me. Fear pricked at my skin, crawling up my spine like a spider. Was this house really haunted? Had my relative died in this house? I searched for answers, poring over old documents, letters, anything that might shed some light on the history of the house and its previous owner. All I found was a diary. It belonged to Edgar, the previous owner. As I read through his neat, angular handwriting, I learned of a man who'd lived a life of solitude, a man who'd buried his past and was now facing his final days. He wrote of strange happenings in the house, of whispers in the night and objects moving on their own. He was afraid, he wrote, and then he stopped. The last entry ended abruptly, mid-sentence. The pieces of the puzzle started to fit together in my mind. Edgar hadn't been murdered, he'd taken his own life, but why? Why had he done it in this house? What dark secret had driven him to it? I felt a cold hand on my shoulder and I spun around, my heart pounding in my chest. There was no one there. The room was empty, the windows dark and unseeing. I was alone in this house at the end of Whisperwind Lane, and I was not safe. Whatever evil lurked within these walls, whatever dark spirit had driven Edgar to his grave was awakening, and I was trapped inside with it.